The death of Gabby Petito captured the public's imagination. The mystery and strange circumstances around a seemingly perfect romance between two young people turning deadly was a multifaceted tragedy of epic proportions. After setting out on a road trip with her boyfriend Brian Laundrie, Petito never returned. Here are the disturbing facts of the case. Gabby was reported missing on September the 11th, 2022. The couple left New York on a 4-month cross-country trip. They documented their travels on YouTube and Instagram. While on the road in Utah, police responded to a domestic problem, and the couple had an argument that led to police intervention. The police report stated that issues between the two had been building over the last few days. In this video, I want to look at potential patterns of abuse recorded on the body cam, and perhaps missed at the scene. This is no way intended to blame the police, but look at the psychology of the situation. Domestic survivors often think they are to blame for poor treatment. As Lauren Cook says, PhD therapist based in Los Angeles, oftentimes the survivors' feelings towards perpetrators are complex. Rarely do we have relationships with people that are all good and all bad. In such situations where intimate partner violence is present, yes, there is aggression, isolation and blaming, but there is also passion, intrigue and times when partners are loving towards one another. This creates a sense of cognitive dissonance, says Cook, which is when you have difficulty integrating conflicting pieces of information. Holding all the pain with all the pleasure leads many survivors to blame themselves rather than see their pattern in their entirety. If we look at some of the key moments of the footage, you can see key examples of self-blame and minimization by Gabby about Brian.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry. I have really bad OCD and okay. I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of him.
You slapped your face or what?
The other side of the coin is the blame that abusers place on others. People who abuse others often avoid responsibility as a defense mechanism. Aggressors often shift blame to someone else to maintain their sense of power by having the survivor feel as if they are the cause of the behaviour, says Sabrina Moreau, Psych D, a licensed psychologist. It distorts their reality by pushing away the individual from realising that they are in an abusive relationship, she adds. What blaming other people sounds like? Words like, "You're crazy, you made me do this, I wouldn't have done this if you wouldn't have done that, look what you made me do."
Why wouldn't you let you in the car? Because of your OCD?
Told me I needed to calm down. Yeah. But I'm perfectly calm. I'm calm all the time. And he really stresses me out. And
what's going on? She just gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her. So, like, I lock the car and I walk away from her. What happens is just crazy. No, I don't think so. No, none that I know of.
Control isn't always in your face, sometimes it's the little things. Controlling behaviour is often subtle and slow moving. This is how aggressors are able to assert power gradually. It rarely happens with a sudden and intense onset, as many people would walk away from this behaviour. It's often not until a relationship has been established that controlling behaviour works its way in, and that they're looking out for their partner by making judgment calls on their lives. As you can see in the footage, Brian plays on Gabby's fear of abandonment by constantly bringing up abandonment and leaving her in a fear of abandonment.
all morning and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
Why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because of your OCD?
Told me I needed to calm down.
So, like, I lock the car and I walk away from her. What happens this morning? Rings the phone. And I was holding on to the keys because I didn't want to go anywhere. And my big fear is, I don't have my phone. I don't have a phone. So I saw the male trying to lock her out of the vehicle. She even told us that he was trying to lock her out, told her to go take a walk, so that she was trying to get in. She eventually couldn't get in and actually clawed her way in through the driver's door. He says, I don't understand why she's doing that. Well, I think it's because it was the only door that wasn't locked that she could get through. So she's trying to get in over him. Give him right in. Absolutely.
almost ignited.
And man, I can't talk to her at all. Well, and I've got to do the thing, so I can't go camping.
You can tell her what it is that she needs to do to get.
Put-downs may be subtle. In abusive relationships, put-downs about your goals or the hobbies you love can erode your confidence over time. Aggressors belittle or put down their partner to diminish their credibility and self-worth. It creates a vicious cycle for the survivor of feelings of self-blame, guilt, shame, as well as unhealthy thinking patterns such as, "I deserve this behaviour." Gabby was trying to start a career as an influencer before her murder. Here we can look at two moments where Brian is potentially belittling Gabby in small and seemingly discreet methods.
Across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog. I have a blog and stuff, so I've been building my website, so I've just been really stressed, and he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it, so that's kind of been like a, I don't know, he's like a downer, I don't know, we've just been fighting.
What happened this morning is that she's trying to start up like her own little website blog and everything, so I give her time.
There may be reactive abuse being present. If someone pushes your buttons enough, you may snap, which is called reactive abuse. This can include verbal outbursts, breaking objects, or physical violence. Reactive abuse confuses who is at fault, says Rahman Al-Bagami, a licensed professional counsellor in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The response from the survivor could be perceived as lashing out during the abuse, making it look as if the survivor is the one who started the whole problem. Reactive abuse occurs when the person who abuses pushes the survivor into acting reactively by screaming, yelling, or crying, thus proving to the abuser that the survivor is mentally unstable or ill, she adds. Al-Bugami says that the reactive abuse can happen in response to being made to feel crazy, gaslighting, isolation, lying, and manipulative tactics.
I'm calm all the time, and he really stresses me out, and this is a rough morning. Or anything. I was yelling at him, and then when you turned your lights on, I like kind of punched his arm like there's a just an idiot.
She's saying like,
I was trying to get him to stop telling me I'm hungry.
well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
At the time of the altercation with the police, Brian was successfully controlling the narrative. Impression management means trying to control what others think of you. We all have it to some degree, but people who behave abusively do it to gain the upper hand. They may be the one person in public and another behind closed doors. At their core, they don't feel so great about themselves, even with all their bluster, says Thomas Plante, PhD, Professor of Psychology at Santa Clara University. Here we can see examples of Brian potentially trying to elicit sympathy from law enforcement.
Because we were there from 9 to 3, so I guess there's a few little things, little relationships. I don't know if you're in a relationship, but I'm sure you're.
I've been married for over 5 years now. So.
There's a lot of little things, right?
Yeah, I can go.
And
I get it.
We really, it was, no. Okay. I'm fine, and I love Gabby. I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me. I'm just, you know, I feel bad I had to get so public. I was just trying to be loud to listen, you know, try to make her calm down and be like, look, everyone's watching. And like, stop this.
Similar to Chris Watts' television interview, it is easy with hindsight to pick the bones out of every word and gesture used. However, there are breadcrumbs of information beneath the surface, which can be used to educate law enforcement for future use, particularly when arriving at domestic disputes. Brian later killed Gabby, and then himself, leaving his skewed logic and justifications behind in his suicide note.
Gabby, I wish I was right at your side. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every memory we've made, getting even more excited for the future. I can't live without you. I've lost every day we could have spent together. Every holiday. I'll never get to play with unintelligible again. Never go hiking with TJ. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos, to recall great times because it is why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laying on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the sight of a meteor shower at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you. If you were reading Gab's journal, looking at the photos from our life together, flipping through old cards, you wouldn't want to live a day without her. Knowing that every day you'll wake up without her, you wouldn't want to wake up. I'm sorry to everyone this will affect, Gabby was the love of my life, but I know adored by many. I'm so very sorry to her family, because I love them. I'd consider her younger siblings, my best of friends. I am sorry to my family. This is a shock to them as well as a terrible grief. They loved as much, if not more than me. A new daughter to my mother, an aunt to my nephews. Please do not make this harder for them. This occurred as an unexpected tragedy. Rushing back to our car trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek before it got too dark to see, too cold. I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see, I couldn't find her for a moment, shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping my name. She was freezing cold. We had just came from the blazing hot national parks in Utah. The temperature had dropped to freezing and she was soaking wet. I carried her as far as I could down the stream towards the car, stumbling exhausted in shock, when my knees buckled and knew I couldn't safely carry her. I started a fire and spooned her as close to the heat. She was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at the time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold back to the car. From where I started the fire, I had no idea how far the car might be. Only knew it was across the creek. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt, her wrist hurt, but she was freezing, shaking violently. While carrying her, she continually made sounds of pain. Laying next to her, she said little, lapsing between violent shakes, gasping in pain, begging for an end to her pain. She would fall asleep and I would shake her awake, fearing she shouldn't close her eyes if she had a concussion. She would wake in pain, start the whole painful cycle again, while furious that I was the one waking her. She wouldn't let me try to cross the creek, thought like me that this fire would go out in her sleep and she'd freeze. I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries. Only that she was in extreme pain. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, that it is what she wanted, but I see now all the mistakes I made. I panicked, I was in shock. But from the moment I decided, took away her pain, I knew I couldn't go on without her. I rushed home to spend any time I had left with my family. I wanted to drive north and let James or TJ kill me, but I wouldn't want them to spend time in jail over my mistake, even though I'm sure they would have liked to. I am ending my life not because of a fear of punishment, but rather because I can't stand to live another day without her. I've lost out whole future together, every moment we could have cherished. I'm sorry for everyone's loss. Please do not make life harder for my family. They lost a son and a daughter. The most wonderful girl in the world. Gabby, I'm sorry. I have killed myself by this creek in the hopes that animals may tear me apart. That it may make some of her family happy. Please pick up all of my things. Gabby hated people who litter.